Following the success of my last video, I thought I'd update the video I've got currently because there's a few people complaining that the tools I linked to about a year and a half ago are not Vista compatible. So I'm just going to update. Going to use some new tools. First one is an updated version of ATi tool. This link will take you to guru3d.com. The next one is GPU-Z. This is available from techpowerup.com. River Tuner, which is available from Guru3D, that's where this link takes you to, and real-time high dynamic range image-based lighting, which is available from this tiny URL here. The only one of these tools which might not work with Vista is this last one, but it's really not too important for overclocking, as you can use ATi tool for the purpose I'm going to use it for. So this is the tool we're going to be using. It's called River Tuner. You can enable the hardware monitor by clicking on this little arrow here, going along to this little chip and magnifying glass and clicking on it. Then this dialog box will appear which lists things like your memory, frequency, clock, core frequency and core temperature. The main one you want to be looking at here is the core temperature, making sure that that doesn't get too hot when you're doing what we're going to be doing today. Next thing you need to do is you're going to open up this program called Real-Time HDR IBL. This has got a nice little graphic on it which is going to stress your GPU a bit. You won't be able to overclock the card as much, but it ensures that it's going to be stable whenever you do put any load on it. There's another reason why we run that as well. I'll show you in a minute. When we open up this system settings here, you'll probably recognize these sort of sliders. I've already overclocked this actually, but what you want to be doing is you want to check this box here, enable driver level hardware overclocking, and you want to go to performance 3D because there's really no point in having an overclocked card when you're not doing any 3D intensive tasks. When you open this up, you'll have a screen that looks like this, and you'll have two numbers here. The first one is for your GPU core, and that's the part that does the processing, and the other bit is for the memory. And the memory, important thing is both of these will provide better performance when you increase these numbers. So that's really all you need to know about these. So as you can see, I've been running HDR IBL and seems to have settled about 41, 42 degrees, which is quite. So to begin overclocking, just drag these sliders up by maybe 10 megahertz at a time. You can do it on both, do it on one, whatever you like. Click apply, that'll apply them. You want to do that in 10 megahertz increments. I for a fact know that this can run at 600 megahertz on the core, about 760 on the memory, which is a reasonable overclock. Apply that. It's not to say your card will be able to do it, you need to go up in 10 megahertz increments. If you go too far, the real-time HDR IBL program, this thing here, will freeze and you'll be unable to rotate it like this, and you'll probably have to restart your computer, or if you leave it long enough, sometimes I think nVidia has done something with their drivers now that it resets to default clocks when you overclock it too much and it unfreezes itself. But once you've done that, you can't continue overclocking, you will have to restart your system. It's quite handy to have a pen and paper beside your computer just to note down how far you got, and maybe just take off 15-20 megahertz off of your overclock, and that should stabilize it a bit. I keep talking in the comments of my last video to keep an eye on temperatures, and this is what I'm talking about here. You're noticing it's going up about 42, 43 degrees. This is quite cool. You really don't want it to go anything above sort of 70 or 80 degrees. If you've not replaced the cooler on your card, then the chances are this will be running quite hot. I've replaced the cooler on mine, and I'll actually show you a video of that and show you the cooling setup I've got on it. So we've overclocked it now. We can OK out of that. Have a look at GPU Z. You can see there's the default clock. There's the actual GPU clock, which we've overclocked it to. So we've gone from 560 MHz up to 600 MHz. And on the memory we've gone from 700 MHz up to 760 MHz. And now begin scanning for artifacts. And this is just going to run a test on the GPU to see if it's stable. You'll see at the moment it's saying no errors for X amount of seconds. If you get any errors, you'll need to stop the test and lower the clock frequency of your card. So I'm just going to close this. You would obviously, I'd keep this running for maybe an hour or something if you really want to make sure it's stable. Also, if you overclock your card and you go into any of your games and you're starting to notice strange things like triangles that shouldn't be there appearing, strange things happening with textures, that usually is a sign that either your overclock's not stable or your card's overheating. So you really want to lower the clock frequencies if that begins to happen. And if you're getting any crashing in games that you weren't getting before, that's most likely due to your overclock. So I'll just open up River Tuner again and show you how you can make your changes permanent. River Tuner has a small utility which will open up with your computer, and it will allow you to save your overclocked settings, I believe. Yes, you can save them. So now it says apply overclocking at Windows startup settings 602 MHz, 760 MHz. So now when I restart my computer, I'll say warning, startup settings you've made may prevent the driver from restoring desired memory clock after reboot. Do you want to correct it now? Obviously you only apply this once you've run ATi tool for an hour and checked that your games are working correctly. So you'll say yes, I want to apply it now. And now every time we restart this computer, the GPU clocks will be 602 MHz compared to 560 MHz, and the memory will be 760 MHz compared to 700 MHz. So that's all you really need to know about overclocking. Just take it slow, watch the temperatures, make sure they don't go too high, and any questions ask on the comments box. This is the graphics card I've been overclocking in my videos. It's got a Zalman cooler on it. You can pick them up for about £20, probably about $40, $30 maybe. It's quite a large copper cooler with heat pipes, and you can see you get these blue RAM sinks as well. It just plugs into your standard 3-pin fan header on your motherboard or fan controller.